Hey everybody, it is Mike. It is Friday, so that means it is time for Fright Friday, a little review that the HorrorFreak85 sets up for us every week. This particular week's title dealt with witches. I'm sure a lot of people are probably going to pick this movie, but it just so happens that I just watched it. So there are several movies out there about dealing with witches. I don't have a lot of those movies. I do own the Pumpkinhead series, so this is the one I'm going to go with. So Pumpkinhead was released in 1988. It was one of the first things directed by Stan Winston, and it was co-written by Stan Winston as well. It stars Lance Hendrickson as Harley, and then some other people that really aren't very well known. So I'm not going to Carrie Rimson and John Diaquino. I don't know. Anywho, like I said, it was released originally in 1988, but then had a broader release in 1989. It did not go well, unfortunately. For some reason, the movie just did not take, and it had a budget of $3.5 million and made about $4.5 million. So they did make their money back, but it kind of doomed any kind of sequels as far as theatrical releases. The plot, it starts out with a family in their cabin, and there's a guy banging on the door trying to get in, and the family refuses to let them in. So eventually the guy goes away from the door. He's basically chased away, and the son in the cabin watches the man killed by this grotesque monster. Turns out that little boy ends up being our lead character, Ed Harley, in the movie. And he is played by Lance Hendrickson. And Lance owns a little store. He has a son. He lost his wife, so he's taking care of his little son. We have a group of city slickers that come in that are going to go camping. And they stop at the store, and then Lance has to leave for a little bit to take care of something, and tells his son to stay in the house or in the store, but the dog runs out, so the little boy runs after the dog. The kids that are out there going to camp are flying around on their dirt bikes, and one of them eventually hits and kills the little boy. This does not sit well with Ed. Needless to say, it would be a horrible thing to happen to anyone. So he goes to this alleged witch out in the boonies, and he is seeking vengeance. So the witch does her thing, and the next thing you know, Pumpkinhead arises. So basically, the plot is we got this big old monster Pumpkinhead running around, and basically killing off the kids one by one, even though a lot of the kids had nothing to do with what happened to the little boy. They pretty much all get killed. The quote unquote last girl, last boy, final girl, final boy, are trying to get away. Lance Hendricks, or Ed Harley, is trying to stop Pumpkinhead. He eventually realizes that he and Pumpkinhead are connected, because every time Pumpkinhead does something, Ed feels it. He goes through these crazy convulsions, and his eyes go white. It's really pretty creepy. And the couple that survive, or that are still alive at this part of the movie run, they go to a farmhouse. There is a family that refuses to open the doors, but the son is like, I got to know if it's real. So he sneaks out and he helps the couple run to a burned out church, and thinking that being in this church would be sacred ground and Pumpkinhead wouldn't follow them into that. They were wrong. Pumpkinhead does follow them in, chases them some more. There's a final showdown between Pumpkinhead. You think he's going to kill the girl and actually the little boy at one point. But every time he tries to do something, either the girl does something to Pumpkinhead or Ed Hurley does something to himself to stop Pumpkinhead. And there's a final climax that pretty much takes care of Ed and Pumpkinhead. My thoughts on this movie: I've always loved this movie. Ever since the first time I saw it, I thought it was cool. I thought it was scary. I love the remakes, even though they're not as good as the original. Pumpkinhead 2 is pretty good. It went straight to video, and then the two remakes were actually, 3 and 4 were actually TV movies, and not bad, really, not bad at all. So yeah, I love this movie. I'd give it an A because I love me some creature features, and I liked the characters in this movie. I had sympathy for them. Yeah, fun movie. So that is my entry for Friday Fright. I hope you enjoyed it, and watch you some Pumpkinhead tonight.